The Galactic Academy of Unified Species sat on a moon that orbited a gas giant. It was a beautiful place. Glass towers reached toward the stars. Gardens filled with plants from 100 worlds grew between the buildings. Students from across the galaxy walked its paths, learning to understand each other. Instructor Velthrix had taught at the academy for 40 years. She was Kazari, a species known for their height, their forearms, and their ability to sense emotions. When she walked into a room, she could feel what everyone was feeling. Happy students glowed warm in her mind. Nervous students flickered like candles. Angry students burned hot. This gift had made her an excellent teacher. She could sense when students were confused before they raised their hands. She could feel when they were struggling and offer help. The academy considered her one of their finest instructors, but the humans were breaking her. They had arrived 3 months ago. 12 of them. The first humans ever admitted to the academy. The galaxy had been watching Earth for centuries, waiting for them to develop faster than light travel. When they finally did, the Galactic Council had invited them to send students. Velthrix had been excited. A new species was always interesting. She had read the reports about Earth. It was a Class 7 temperate world. Pleasant weather. Liquid water. Nothing special. The humans themselves looked unremarkable. 2 arms, 2 legs. Soft skin. No claws or scales or natural weapons. They were small compared to most species. Fragile even, but something was wrong with them. Velthrix stood at the front of her classroom, teaching a lecture on species communication patterns. Around her sat students from 15 different worlds. The Thrillians hummed softly as they processed information, their crystal bodies vibrating with thought. The Vorax clicked and chirped to each other, unable to stay quiet for more than a few seconds. The Morviths shifted colors as their moods changed, painting their feelings across their skin. And in the back row, the 12 humans sat in perfect silence. They did not move. They did not whisper. They did not fidget or shift or make any sound at all. They simply watched her with their strange, forward-facing eyes. They took notes on their datapads. Sometimes they nodded slightly. But when Velthrix reached out with her mind to sense their emotions, she felt nothing but not emptiness. Not the cold void of a machine. Just nothing she could read. It was like trying to grab smoke with her hands. Something was there, but she could not hold it. This terrified her. After class, she walked quickly to the office of Sub-Instructor Morith. He was Thrillian, a being made of living crystal who communicated through musical vibrations. He had been assigned to help monitor the human students. "Something is wrong with them," Velthrix said as she entered his office. "I cannot feel them, Morith. In 40 years, I have never encountered a species I could not read." Morith's body hummed with concern. "I have noticed similar problems. My people communicate through harmony. We share feelings through sound. But the humans produce almost no sound at all. When I stand near them, I hear only their heartbeats and their breathing. It is like standing next to empty shells." "Do you think they are defective?" Velthrix asked. "Perhaps these particular humans have some condition?" "I have researched this," Morith replied. "According to human medical records, all 12 are considered mentally healthy by their species standards. More than healthy. They were selected from thousands of candidates. They are supposed to be the best humanity has to offer." Velthrix felt a chill run down her spine. "The best? Then why do they act like prey animals hiding from predators?" This question haunted her for the next week. She watched the humans more closely. She saw them eat in the cafeteria, sitting together at one table, speaking softly in words she could not hear. She saw them exercise in the training grounds, running and lifting weights with mechanical precision. She saw them study in the library, reading for hours without moving. And always, they were quiet, Other students had begun to notice too. The Varaks were uncomfortable around humans because the silence made them nervous. The Morvith complained that they could not tell what humans were thinking. Even the other telepathic species reported the same problem Velthrix had encountered. Rumors began to spread. Some students said humans were emotionless machines wearing skin suits. Others said they were predators pretending to be civilized. A few claimed humans were planning something terrible and hiding their thoughts to keep it secret. Velthrix knew she had to act. She called an emergency faculty meeting. 20 instructors gathered in the conference room. Representatives from the Academy Board joined through holographic projection. Velthrix stood before them all and presented her concerns. The human students are causing psychological distress among other species, she explained. Their behavior patterns are completely outside galactic norms. They do not share emotions. They do not communicate openly. They sit in silence for hours without any visible thought processes. Several students have reported feeling afraid near them. What do you suggest? Asked board member Krath, a massive Tyrellian whose scales gleamed under the lights. I believe we need to question them directly, Velthrix said. We must understand why they behave this way. If they cannot explain themselves satisfactorily, I recommend we consider removing them from the academy for the psychological safety of other students. The room erupted in discussion. Some instructors agreed. Others argued that removing the humans would damage relations with Earth. A few suggested that perhaps the humans simply needed more time to adapt. Finally, board member Krath raised a massive hand for silence. We will question them, he declared. Bring the humans to the Hall of Understanding tomorrow. We will give them a chance to explain. If their answers satisfy us, they may stay. If not, they will be sent home. Velthrix nodded, feeling relieved. Tomorrow, she would finally get answers. But as she left the meeting, she noticed something strange. One of the human students was standing in the hallway outside. A young woman with dark hair and calm eyes. She must have heard everything. The human met Velthrix's gaze and smiled slightly. It was not a threatening expression, but something about it made Velthrix's blood run cold. The human nodded politely and walked away in complete silence. Velthrix watched her go, and for the first time in her life, she wondered if she was the one being studied. The Hall of Understanding was the oldest building at the Academy. It was shaped like a giant circle, with stone seats rising up on all sides. In ancient times, species had come here to end wars and sign treaties. The walls still carried the marks of old conflicts and older peace. Today, it would host a different kind of meeting. Velthrix sat among the panel of instructors. 20 teachers from 15 different species had gathered to question the humans. Board members watched through holographic screens. Students were not allowed to attend, but Velthrix knew they were watching through hidden cameras. Everyone wanted to see this. The 12 humans entered through the main doors. They walked in a formation that Velthrix did not recognize. Not a line, not a group, but something organized. Something practiced. They moved together without speaking, without looking at each other. As if they shared one mind. At their front walked the dark-haired woman Velthrix had seen in the hallway. She carried herself differently from the others. Her shoulders were straighter. Her eyes moved constantly, scanning the room, checking exits, watching faces. She looked like someone who expected trouble. The humans stopped in the center of the hall and stood still. They did not fidget. They did not whisper. They simply waited. Board member Krath spoke first. His deep voice echoed through the hall. Humans of Earth, you have been called here to answer questions about your behavior. Many species at this academy have expressed concern. We wish to understand you better. Will you speak with us openly? The dark-haired woman stepped forward slightly. We will answer what we can. I am Commander Yuki Tanaka. I speak for the human contingent. Commander. Belthrix noticed the word. Not student. Commander. You may call me Yuki, the woman added, her voice calm and clear. Please begin your questions. Instructor Morath's crystal body hummed as he spoke first. Why do you not share your thoughts? Every species in the galaxy communicates openly. We share emotions through telepathy, color, sound, or chemical signals. But you humans share nothing. Why? Yuki considered the question for a moment before answering. Humans evolve differently. On Earth, showing your emotions could get you killed. Predators watched for signs of fear. Enemies watched for signs of weakness. We learned to keep our feelings inside. But you are safe here, Morath said. There are no predators at the Academy. Old habits are difficult to break, Yuki replied simply. Belthrix leaned forward. I am telepathic. I can sense emotions from every species I have ever encountered. But when I try to read humans, I feel nothing. This is not normal. This is not natural. What are you hiding? Yuki's expression did not change. We are not hiding anything, instructor. Human minds simply work differently. We do not broadcast our thoughts. We contain them. This is how we survived. Survived what? Asked board member Krath. Your planet has been classified as a Class 7 temperate world. It is considered safe by galactic standards. For the first time, something flickered across Yuki's face. It might have been amusement. It might have been something else. Your classification system is incomplete, she said. Earth is not safe. Earth has never been safe. Our planet has extreme temperatures, violent weather, toxic plants, venomous animals, and natural disasters that destroy entire cities. 70% of our surface is covered in water that we cannot breathe. The very air we breathe was once poisoned to most life forms. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humans did not evolve on a gentle world. We evolved on a world that was constantly trying to kill us. Every generation, we faced extinction. Ice ages, plagues, famines, wars, and through it all we survived. Not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we were the most patient. The hall had grown very quiet. Even the Varax had stopped clicking. What do you mean by patient? Belthrix asked. Yuki's eyes met hers directly. Humans are persistent predators. When we hunted, we did not chase our prey until we caught it. We followed it. For hours. For days. We walked after animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. They were faster than us, but we never stopped. We never gave up. We just kept coming. She let the silence stretch for a moment. That is why we sit quietly in your classes, instructor. We are not broken. We are not empty. We are simply doing what humans have always done. We are watching. We are learning. We are waiting. Board member Krath shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Waiting for what? To understand, Yuki said. You have been in space for thousands of years. We have been here for less than a century. We have much to learn. Another instructor spoke up. A Thelian named Voss, who taught history. We have read your records. Your species has spent most of its existence fighting itself. War after war after war. Millions dead. Billions dead. How can you claim to be civilized when your history is written in blood? Yuki nodded slowly. You are correct. Humans have fought many wars. We have done terrible things to each other. This is our greatest shame. She paused. But it is also why we are here. We know what happens when conflict goes unchecked. We know the cost of violence. And we know that the galaxy is very large and very old, and that eventually something will threaten all of us. When that day comes, you will meet species who know how to fight. The hall erupted in noise. Instructors shouted questions. Board members demanded explanations. The Varax clicked so loudly that the sound echoed off the walls. YUK. I stood perfectly still through all of it. She waited, patient, calm. When the noise finally died down, she spoke again. I know you do not trust us. I know our silence frightens you. So I am prepared to offer something that might help you understand. What? Velthrix asked. Context, Yuki said. With your permission, I would like to show you what human silence actually means. I would like to show you why we were chosen for this program. She looked around the hall at the gathered aliens. I would like to show you our combat records. The silence that followed was heavier than anything the humans had ever produced. The holographic display system in the Hall of Understanding was designed to show complex data from across the galaxy. It had displayed peace treaties that ended thousand-year wars. It had shown maps of empires that spanned hundreds of stars. It had projected images of wonders that made even the oldest species weep with joy. Today, it would show something different. YUKI Tanaka stood at the controls. Her 11 fellow humans remained in their formation behind her, still and silent as always. The instructors and board members watched from their seats, unsure what to expect. What I am about to show you is not classified, Yuki said. These are training recordings and minor engagements. Nothing secret. Nothing special by human standards. This is simply what we are. She pressed a button. The first video filled the air above them. It showed a group of human soldiers moving through a forest at night. They wore dark clothing and carried weapons that the aliens did not recognize. What struck Velthrix immediately was the silence. 20 humans moving through thick brush without making a single sound. They communicated only through hand signals, quick gestures that carried complex meaning. Not a word was spoken. They reached a building and entered it in perfect coordination. Each soldier knew exactly where to go, exactly what to do. The entire operation took less than 3 minutes. When it was over, they vanished back into the forest like ghosts. This was a training exercise, Yuki explained. The soldiers were practicing night operations. They trained for 6 months to achieve this level of coordination. The video changed. Now it showed humans training in extreme environments. A group of soldiers marching through snow so deep it reached their waists. The temperature reading in the corner of the screen showed -40 degrees. Cold enough to kill most galactic species in minutes. The humans kept marching for hours. Another clip showed humans swimming through dark water, holding their breath for times that seemed impossible. Another showed them climbing mountains without safety equipment. Another showed them running through a desert under a burning sun, carrying heavy packs for days without stopping. Your bodies can survive these conditions? Morath asked, his crystal form vibrating with disbelief. Not easily, Yuki admitted. Many humans die during training, but those who survive become stronger. We call this process hardening. We break ourselves so that nothing else can. The next video made several instructors look away. It showed a human medic who had been wounded in a training accident. A deep cut across her stomach. Blood everywhere. She should have been screaming. She should have been waiting for help. Instead, she cleaned the wound herself. She stitched it closed with her own hands. She wrapped it in bandages. Then she stood up and continued her training exercise. Why? Velthrix whispered. Why would anyone do that to themselves? Because on the battlefield, help might not come, Yuki said. Every human soldier learns to treat their own wounds. Pain is just information. It tells us something is wrong. It does not control us. The videos continued. Hand-to-hand combat training where humans fought opponents much larger than themselves. They used leverage, speed, and precise strikes to bring down enemies that should have crushed them. They fought dirty. They fought smart. They never stopped fighting until the opponent was down. Then the tone of the presentation changed. "These next recordings are from actual combat operations," Yuki said. Her voice was quieter now. "Small engagements, border conflicts, peacekeeping missions. Nothing large, but real." The first combat video showed a human squad defending a position against attackers. The humans were outnumbered 5-1. They had limited ammunition. No reinforcements were coming. They held the position for 72 hours. The aliens watched humans take wounds that would have killed any of them. Shot through the shoulder, a soldier kept firing. Leg broken from an explosion, another soldier crawled to a better position and continued fighting. When their ammunition ran out, they fought with knives. When their knives broke, they fought with their hands. They never retreated. They never surrendered. They held until relief finally arrived, and by then, only 4 of the original 12 were still alive. The video ended. The hall was completely silent. Even the Virax had nothing to say. Another video began. This one showed a single human facing a group of enemies. The human was wounded, exhausted, and alone. Any reasonable being would have surrendered. The human smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of something that had moved beyond fear, beyond pain, beyond anything the aliens could understand. The human attacked with bare hands against armed opponents. The fight was brutal and ugly and short. When it was over, the human was the only one standing. "Why do you smile in such moments?" Board member Kraft asked. His voice was rough. "When facing death, why you smile?" Yuki considered the question carefully. "There is a human concept that does not translate well into galactic language," she said. "We call it going down swinging. When a human faces certain defeat, something changes inside us. We stop being afraid. We stop caring about survival. We become completely focused on causing as much damage as possible before we fall." She looked around the hall at the gathered aliens. The smile is not happiness. It is freedom. In that moment, we have nothing left to lose. And a human with nothing to lose is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The holographic display shut off. The hall remained silent. Velthrix realized her 4 hands were shaking. She had read emotions from thousands of beings across her career. But watching those videos, she had felt something she had never experienced before. She had felt afraid of the small, soft, fragile creatures standing in the center of the hall. The humans had not moved throughout the entire presentation. They stood in their formation, quiet and calm, watching the aliens process what they had seen. "Yuk," I spoke into the silence. "Do you understand now? We do not sit quietly because we are empty. We sit quietly because we are full. Full of training, full of discipline, full of the knowledge that if necessary, we could do terrible things." She let the words settle. "But we choose not to. That is the difference between us and monsters. We have the capacity for violence, but we prefer peace. We came here to learn, not to fight. We came here hoping we would never have to use these skills again." Her voice softened. "We came here hoping we were wrong about what is coming." Board member Kraft leaned forward. "What do you mean? What is coming?" Yuki looked at her fellow humans. Something passed between them. A silent conversation that no alien could read. Then she turned back to the board. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "it is time we told you the truth about why we are really here." The Hall of Understanding had witnessed many important moments in galactic history. Treaties that ended centuries of bloodshed. Alliances that united bitter enemies. Announcements that changed the fate of entire civilizations. But none of those moments felt like this. Yuk Tanaka stood before the assembly. And for the first time since the humans had arrived, Velthrix saw something behind the woman's eyes. Not the coldness of a predator. not the emptiness they had feared. Something older and heavier. It was exhaustion. The kind of tiredness that came from carrying a burden for too long. 53 years ago, Yuki began. Humanity launched our first deep space probe. We called it Pioneer 7. Its mission was simple: travel beyond our solar system and send back data about what it found. She pressed a button on the holographic controls. A star map appeared above them. The Milky Way galaxy spread across the ceiling like a river of light. Pioneer 7 traveled far, farther than we expected. Its systems were designed to last 20 years. They lasted 40, and in that time, it sent us information that changed everything. A section of the outer galaxy began to flash red. It was on the opposite side from Earth, far from the Academy, far from any known civilization. In this region, Pioneer 7 detected 17 civilizations. 17 species who had built cities, developed technology, reached for the stars just like the rest of us. Yuki paused. None of them exist anymore. The hall erupted in confused noise. Instructors demanded explanations. Board members shouted questions. But Yuki waited calmly until silence returned. We do not know exactly what happened to them. Our probe was too far away to get detailed information. But we know that something moved through that region of space approximately 300 years ago. Something that left nothing behind. She changed the display. Now it showed fuzzy images captured by Pioneer 7. Ruined cities on dead worlds. Shattered space stations floating in empty orbits. Ships torn apart and scattered like toys. We found evidence of 17 unique species. 17 different languages. 17 different technologies. All of them ended at the same time. This is impossible, Board Member Krath growled. The Galactic Council monitors all regions of space. We would have detected something like this, would you? Yuki asked. The affected region is beyond your current communication range. Your fastest ships would take a century to reach it. You have no reason to look there because you believe that section of the galaxy is empty. She let that sink in. It used to be full of life. Now it is a graveyard. Velthrix felt her heart's pounding. What do you think destroyed them? A disease? A weapon? Yuki shook her head. We do not know. Our probe only captured fragments. Distant signals that cut off suddenly. Energy readings that spiked and then vanished. Whatever it was, it moved fast. The last civilizations had no time to warn the first. She looked around the hall at the gathered aliens. But we do know one thing: the direction it was traveling. And if it continued on that path, at that speed, it will reach populated galactic space within the next 200 years. Silence. Complete and absolute. This is why humanity is here, Yuki continued. We were not invited to the Academy because we wanted to learn diplomacy. We requested entry because we needed to understand you. All of you. Your strengths. Your weaknesses. Your technologies. Your ways of thinking. You were studying us, Morris said, his crystal body ringing with accusation. Like specimens. Yes, Yuki admitted. And I apologize for the deception. But we could not simply announce that the galaxy might face extinction. You would not have believed us. You had no reason to trust humans. We are new. We are strange. We are violent by your standards. She gestured at the humans standing behind her. So we send our best. Not our best students. Our best soldiers. Our best strategists. Our best minds. Each of us has spent decades training for war. We came here hoping to find allies. Species who might be capable of fighting alongside us when the time comes. Fighting? Board Member Krath sounded stunned. The Galactic Council has not fought a war in 3,000 years. We solved conflict through diplomacy. through understanding, through unity. Then you will need to learn, Yuki said bluntly. Whatever destroyed those civilizations did not care about diplomacy. It did not negotiate. It did not offer terms of surrender. It simply erased everything in its path. She took a step forward. We are not asking you to trust us blindly. We are asking you to investigate. Send your own probes to the affected region. Study the evidence. Reach your own conclusions. But please, do it quickly. Because if we are right, we do not have much time. Velthrix stood from her seat. Her voice shook when she spoke. Even if this is true, even if something terrible is coming, what can we do? You showed us your combat records. Your soldiers are impressive. But a dozen humans cannot fight something that destroyed 17 civilizations. You are correct, Yuki said. 12 humans cannot. Neither can 100. Or 1,000. Or 1,000,000. She smiled. And this time, it was not frightening. It was tired and sad and hopeful all at once. But we never intended to fight alone. Humans survived our death world because we learned to work together. Families, tribes, nations. We built communities that protected each other. That is the human way. We face threats together or we do not face them at all. She looked at each alien in the hall. You asked why we sit silently in your classes, why we hide our emotions, why we train ourselves to endure such terrible things. The answer is simple. We are preparing. We have been preparing for 50 years. And now we are asking you to prepare with us. Prepare how? Velthrix asked. Learn what we know. Train with us. Share your technologies and let us share ours. Build an alliance not of friendship, but of survival. Together, the combined species of this galaxy represent more knowledge, more resources, and more strength than humanity could ever achieve alone. She extended her hand toward Velthrix, a human gesture of peace and partnership. We came here to find teachers. Instead, we found potential allies. The question is whether you are willing to learn from us. Velthrix stared at the offered hand. 3 months ago, she had feared the humans. She had wanted them removed from the academy. She had believed their silence made them dangerous. Now she understood. The silence was not emptiness. It was focus. It was discipline. It was the calm before a storm that had not yet arrived. She reached out with one of her 4 hands and grasped Yuki's fingers. Teach us, she said. 1 year had passed since the day in the Hall of Understanding. 1 year since the humans had revealed their secret. 1 year since everything changed. Velthrix stood on the observation deck of the academy, watching the sky above. Once, this view had shown only peaceful commercial ships traveling between worlds. Trading vessels, passenger transports, scientific expeditions. Now, warships filled the darkness. They were not all the same design. That was what struck her most. Human ships flew alongside Khazari cruisers. Thrillian crystal vessels moved in formation with Vorak swarm carriers. Turellian battleships drifted near Morvis stealth craft. 37 different species, each with their own technology, their own way of thinking, their own reasons for being here, not all of them training together. The past year had been the hardest of Velthrix's life. She had spent decades believing that the galaxy had moved beyond violence. That conflict was a primitive thing left behind by civilized species. That understanding and diplomacy could solve any problem. The humans had shown her otherwise, not through cruelty, not through force. They had shown her through patience and persistence, through small demonstrations that built into larger lessons, through questions that made her think about things she had never considered. What would she do if diplomacy failed? What would she sacrifice to protect her students? How far would she go to save her people? Hard questions. Uncomfortable questions. but necessary ones. The door behind her opened. Yuki Tanaka stepped onto the observation deck, still moving with that quiet grace that had once seemed so frightening. Now, Velthrix found it comforting. A reminder that calmness could exist even in terrible times. "The graduation ceremony begins in 1 hour," Yuki said. "Are you ready?" "I do not know," Velthrix admitted. "A year ago, I wanted to expel your people from the academy. Now I am giving commendations to human soldiers. The universe is stranger than I ever imagined." Yuki smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. Velthrix had learned to read human expressions over the past year. They were subtle, but they were there. "Change is never easy," Yuki said. "Humans resisted change for most of our history. We fought against new ideas, new technologies, new ways of living. We only adapted when we had no other choice." "Like now," Velthrix said. "Like now," Yuki agreed. They stood together in silence, watching the fleet maneuver above them. A year ago, the silence would have made Velthrix uncomfortable. Now she understood it. Silence was not absence. It was presence without noise. It was being together without needing to fill every moment with words. "Your people have done remarkable things," Velthrix said finally. "The classes you taught have changed everything. I watched a Varax student meditate yesterday." A Varax, a species that cannot stop clicking for more than 10 seconds at a time. And she sat in perfect silence for an hour. "She has been practicing," Yuki said. "Her teacher tells me she wants to join the Special Operations Training Program. She told me the same thing. She said that if something threatens the galaxy, she wants to be on the front lines." Velthrix shook her head. 1 year ago, the Varax had no concept of front lines. They had never needed soldiers. Now they are volunteering for combat training. "Is that a bad thing?" Yuki asked. Velthrix considered the question carefully. "I do not know. Part of me mourns what we have lost. The innocence. The belief that violence was beneath us. But another part of me understands that innocence was a luxury. A luxury paid for by distance from real threats." She turned to face Yuki directly. "Your probes were right. The Council sent their own expeditions to the outer regions. They found exactly what you said they would find. Dead worlds. Silent stars. 17 civilizations erased from existence." "I know," Yuki said quietly. "I wish we had been wrong. So do I." Velthrix paused. "But I am glad you were here to warn us. If you had not come, if you had not revealed the truth, we would have faced this threat alone and unprepared. Now, at least, we have a chance." "A chance is all anyone can ask for," Yuki said. The graduation ceremony was unlike any the Academy had seen before. The Hall of Understanding was filled to capacity. Students from across the galaxy sat beside instructors who had once taught only peace. Representatives from 37 species watched through holographic connections. The 12 humans who had arrived as suspected threats now stood at the front of the hall as honored guests. One by one, students came forward to receive their commendations. Not just academic achievements, but new certifications. Combat readiness, emergency response, strategic thinking, skills that the Academy had never taught before. When the last student received their award, board member Krath rose to speak. "1 year ago, we questioned whether humans belonged at this academy. We feared their silence. We misunderstood their stillness. We thought they might be dangerous." He looked at Yuki and her fellow humans. "We were right. They are dangerous. But they are dangerous in the way that guardians are dangerous. In the way that protectors are dangerous. They have shared their knowledge freely, asking nothing in return except that we prepare ourselves for what is coming." He raised one massive hand toward the ceiling, where the fleet still maneuvered in the darkness beyond. "Today, 37 species stand together. Not as allies of convenience, but as a family forged in the understanding that some threats cannot be faced alone. The humans taught us this truth. They showed us that silence is not weakness, that stillness is not emptiness, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply refuse to give up. The hall erupted in applause, every species making noise in their own way. Clicks and hums and colors and vibrations filling the air. The humans remained silent through it all, but their eyes were bright with emotion. After the ceremony, Velthrix found Yuki on the observation deck again. The human woman was staring up at the fleet, her face unreadable in the starlight. "Do you think we will be ready?" Velthrix asked. "Why, Yuki?" I was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. "No." The word hung in the air between them. "No?" "Readiness is a myth," Yuki said. "No one is ever truly ready for disaster. You can train forever and still find yourself facing something you did not expect. That is the nature of crisis. It does not wait for permission. It does not care if you are prepared." She turned to face Velthrix. "But we will not be alone. And for humans, that makes all the difference." She reached out and took Velthrix's hand. 4 fingers wrapped around 2. Scales meeting skin. 2 species from opposite ends of the galaxy, connected by something stronger than biology. When the darkness comes, we will face it together. We will probably fail sometimes. We will lose people we love. We will make mistakes that cost lives. But we will not surrender. We will not run. We will stand side by side and fight for every star, every planet, every life we can save. She squeezed Velthrix's hand. That is the human way. And now, it is the galactic way too. Above them, the fleet continued its exercises. Ships from 37 species, moving in silence, learning to be still, learning to wait, learning to be patient, learning to be ready for whatever came next. Velthrix watched them for a long time. Then she spoke, her voice carrying the weight of everything she had learned. "No," she said. "We will not be alone." And in the vastness of space, surrounded by allies who had once been strangers, surrounded by hope that had once been fear, the galaxy waited together, silent, still, ready. Human.